All right, welcome to the LSG podcast, season 2, episode 6. I am LSG Moo, once again, joined here today by TLOC's neighbor. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty awesome so far. It's a good day.
So far, still too early?
It's a little, I'm trying to get into the habit of waking up a little bit earlier. Emphasis on trying. I snoozed my alarm for a solid 2 hours this morning.
Nice.
2 hours. But I'm awake now, so doing good.
Why don't you introduce yourself for the two people that got lost on the internet, stumbled on the wrong podcast, and don't know who you are?
So, for anyone who doesn't know who I am Neighbor. I do semi-professional commentary for Tourney Locator. Hashtag semi-professional esports commentary. Mostly Super Smash Brothers. I started in 4, now mostly Ultimate, but I've dabbled a little bit with some other fun stuff here and there, like very early Dragon Ball Fighters. I had a little bit when we were messing around with the idea of a weekly there, and I've done a fun Mario Maker 2 race.
Really?
Like tag team race kind of charity event that my good friend Ghoul02 was running, and invited Kimono and I to go out and do that. That was super fun. That was at the Let's Play Gaming Expo last year. I think it was last year. It was the year the Let's Play Gaming Expo split off from Low Tier City, but I was still able to go out there and do that for the fun charity Mario Maker 2 race. It was kind of wild because the game had like just come out and they'd picked a bunch of levels that were handpicked by Ghoul and his homies. So that would be good, like quick first time run races, because people were going into these levels blind and just trying to beat each other.
That actually sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. Mostly Super Smash Brothers, but I've dabbled. I've done some weird stuff here and there.
I'll actually be doing a Mario Maker 2 stream tomorrow. So for Moo's Monday Musings, I'm having my friend Alan on, and he speedruns Mario stuff. There's what's the popular ROM? There's a popular ROM that I can't think of. Yes, he does Kaizo Mario stuff.
Yeah. That's hard.
And so tomorrow he's going to be on Monday Musings, and we're going to talk about all that fun stuff, and then afterwards we're going to play some Mario Maker with him. So
nice.
I haven't touched that
Mario
game.
It's interesting because it really tests how well you know the mechanics of Mario more than like you've memorized how the levels work, because you're just kind of thrown into random stuff that you may beat regardless of how the creator intended, or they clearly did not intend for the fastest strats to be the fastest strats 99% of the time.
Right.
So it's how well do you know how video game work?
I find out most of the time that I don't really know how Mario works. Like I do a lot of discovery that I have no idea about half of these Mario mechanics.
That's me.
Are you big into platformers?
I mean, 2D Mario is not my favorite. I've beat the original Mario. I haven't played much of Mario 3, which is supposed to be like the really, really good one.
I haven't played it at all.
I really haven't played many 2D platformers that much. It was, if I liked Mario, it was mostly 3D Mario because it was very forgiving.
Super 3D World is really cool.
Yeah.
Super 3D World had like the space section after you beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff was really fun.
I don't think I ever played Galaxy 2, but Galaxy was a super good one. Of course, Sunshine and 64. I didn't beat Odyssey. I have it, and I still haven't beaten it.
I haven't even started Odyssey.
I really like watching speedruns of it. Odyssey is actually really good. I just like, the way I am with a game is I'll start it, and I'll either then finish it, or if I get distracted and open up another game, I never open it up again.
Nice. So I bought Odyssey when it first came out because I have 2 little boys and they're super into Mario. We played 3D World together for hundreds and hundreds of hours, They wanted Odyssey,
Nice.
so I bought it for them. And I think my oldest son, my 11-year-old, I think he beat it, but I
Nice.
haven't. I've maybe spent 10, 20 minutes on it. Keep being told to play it, but just haven't done it. The last single player game I beat was Sekiro.
Okay, that's not too long ago.
Well,
when did that come out? Within the past like 6 months?
No, that came out last April.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it was 2019 Game of the Year.
Time work. Oops.
But I only beat it like 3 months ago ish.
Oh, I guess that was 2019. I was working at a different job at the time.
No, I'm a sucker for those Dark Souls style games.
Yeah.
I wanted to stream.
I mean,
I wanted to stream Dark Souls challenge runs because I've beaten Dark Souls 3 like hundreds of times, and I love doing challenge runs in that game. And I wanted to stream that, but somehow I just keep ending up adding more Smash stuff to my plate.
Right. That's an eternal mood for me. Keep wanting to play other video game, but there's Smash right here.
See, I haven't played.
I feel like there's a recent tweet that like I feel super called out about. It was like, Smash Bros. Players say that they play games that aren't Smash and then boot up the Pokemon ROM hack for the 72nd time. You know, and it's like, dang. All right, well, you called me out. So of course I started another Pokemon playthrough, except this time it was on legitimate hardware instead of on a ROM. So
nice.
This is what I'm spending my time doing. I'm playing Pokemon Sapphire on my SP.
I need to look into the new Pokemon tournament series they just announced. The new big huge Wi-Fi thing.
Yeah.
That realistically I should know what it is because I'm sponsoring 3 Pokemon players who are entering it, and I'm like, I should know more about this than I do. All I know is it exists and they're playing in it. And
I want to learn more about it too. I need to figure out what dates it is, so if I'm off at reasonable times for those, I could maybe join myself.
Lou and I made a hard trick room team. I tweeted out 2 tweets about it. One, I rolled double sleep, like 3 consecutive terms. I rolled double sleep with G-Max Butterfree.
Oh my god. G-Max Butterfree it's a mess.
And then the very next game, I put 3 Pokemon to sleep and paralyzed 1. Like, it was rough. I felt very bad for my opponent because they just straight up lost because of RNG. And on paper, they should have beat me. Like, their team should have beaten my hard Trick Room team. But instead, I just never put Trick Room up and put him to sleep with G-Max Butterfree.
Sometimes, though, that's what you have to do when you stare at a team and say, they just win if I do my normal strategy. Let's throw some luck into the mix.
That's why Butterfree's on this team, because it's what I throw in if I'm in a losing matchup for hard Trick Room. I just throw in and lead G-Max Butterfree with like Hatterena or Dusclops, and then put Torkoal and Rhyperior in the back and hope for the best.
There's definitely some teams that just hard lose to hard Trick Room too. Except like there's some sand teams that have no answers except I'm gonna throw out Tyranitar Excadrill and we're gonna both click Rock Slide, and there's maybe a 50-50 chance that I win because they don't get to set it up this turn. So
my Butterfree has the item that causes you to take less damage from a super effective attack, and its EV spread is enough to where it can survive 1 Rock Slide. It can survive 1 T-Tar Rock Slide.
The second Rock Slide.
But Butterfree normally is just O-code by it. But if you put some EVs in defense and some EVs in health and run this 1 berry, you can live it 1 time.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
It's truly
Butterfree is capable at all, even with a berry, to live a Rock Slide is nuts because that Pokemon is frail. Like I've looked into running some Ferrothorn in current meta, and I thought he really doesn't need an item that bad the way I'm running it, so maybe I'll run the Fire Resist berry, Aqua Berry.
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of the time, it still dies from full with the berry because it's 4 times weak to fire, and it's got crazy defenses. So it's
right.
Like, wow.
No,
I guess Rock Slide is usually weaker than whatever fire move
we
should be
sat
described.
in a simulator and actually sent it out and managed to get it to where he could survive. Um, it was it took like 30 minutes of testing to get the Butterfree where it could survive, but we got it where it 100% can survive one rock fall. So
Nice.
it's a gimmick.
That's crazy.
It's beautiful. I love that Pokemon.
Man, that's definitely especially if you're playing in a best of one format, can throw people super far off.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
what the
I just need to
new
KO this Butterfree.
the new tournament. It's best of ones online,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a gimmicky as hell. I have a really okay. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to give away everything I'm running, but I am running an Imprisoned Indeedee that outspeeds Chandelure.
Ooh. Ooh. So you're imprisoned there in prison?
Yes. So I can get Trick Room.
Wait. I never considered that before.
It's an Indeedee that outspeeds
Imprisoned there in
Chandelure
prison.
unless Chandelure has Choice Scarf is the only way to outspeed my Indeedee.
And then it's choice scarfed into imprisoned, so like,
Right?
you still get free turns.
On
That's
Showdown, I tested it twice. Again, I ran into two imprisoned Chandelure teams. One of them had G-Max Pikachu, which completely invalidates my Indeedee.
Nice.
And then the other one was running Choice Scarf Chandelure. I still won both of those games, but both times, like, my whole master strat of my Indeedee imprisoning their imprison didn't work.
I swear, every time I run into Chandelure and think this might be imprisoned, it never goes for imprisoned. No matter what I do. I'm like, they're always like 7 steps of Yomi ahead of me. They're just bringing the Chandelure, so I'm scared. And it worked.
We'll see.
It's a terrifying Pokemon.
You just got to get the Indeedee to counter the Chandelure. It's the secret.
Yeah. That's a strat.
I had a couple other gimmick teams that I was contemplating that Lou and I were working on before we landed on the final makeup of this one. There were a couple of really nice gimmicks we were thinking about running instead of Butterfree, but we did end up. Butterfree's my favorite Pokemon in the meta, so.
Oh, nice.
Because my favorite Pokemon isn't in the game, so. At least what Butterfree, Nidoking.
Nidoking's coming out in the next DLC, and I'm so excited for it. I legitimately think it could be one of the best, maybe not one of the best, but like, it has a legitimate place in the meta. Being
Hopefully.
A solid, like, it'll have such good max moves in max ground and max poison. Its coverage is insane, so if you need help against like sleep, you can run max thunder or max electric. If you need help against you can just run Blizzard or Fire if you need the Fire type coverage on your team because everyone's running Ferrothorn now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Nidoking, especially because speed stat isn't terrible for this meta, that could change because they're adding a lot of Pokemon, and I know Garchomp's going to be in, and that's going to be terrifying, and Talonflame I think is going to be in, and that's going to be terrifying. But right now, like, the idea of Nidoking plus good Tailwind, which it can get good Tailwind support from Talonflame, which I'm also excited about trying out, I think could be a really good Pokemon. Nidoking's one of my favorites.
I hope it is.
My favorite Pokemon is Abra.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm going to be using that on a team anytime soon.
The Nidoking and Nidoqueen have always been my favorites since like Gen 1.
Yeah. And they've had some niche use in doubles every once in a while. I know Nidoqueen top-8'd a Worlds a while back. I think it was in the Gen 6 era, so it was like 2014 to 2016. At some point, it was I think at a seniors. I think in seniors Worlds, it top-8'd one of those. But
see, the
Mon has potential.
I never followed competitive Pokemon. Like, I knew it existed, but I never followed it until Sword and Shield.
Yeah, I feel like it's easier than ever to get into it right now. Like, Gen 6 was where I first got into competitive because it was really easy to actually breed and make competitive Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I maxed out my in-game timer on Pokemon Y within the first 3 months of the game dropping because I just spent
Nice.
so much time breeding. But it was mostly for singles at the time. Didn't understand doubles at all. Didn't really play much singles either. I just bred a bunch of Pokemon. And eventually, going into Sword and Shield, I decided, let's actually try this out. It's been fun. I also started with a hard Trick Room team with Indeedee Hat. And I feel like it helped me learn a lot because having just like one simple mode to go to was nice.
It's like the Palutena approach.
But then I also had, yeah, exactly. You learn fast because you only have to back air. Back air and air. Really, all of our aerials are kind of busted. Just jump and then swing.
Right? Just jump and press a button. You're fine.
Yeah.
So, what was your introduction to competitive video games?
So I've always been like a pretty competitive person in general. It kind of started, so back, my first like video games that I played that I have memories with was, as a kid, I had the N64. We didn't really have many games, so it was just like whatever we could rent from Blockbuster at the time. But my brother and I would always play games together. So there was this really trash Transformers game.
Oh, God.
It was like a Naruto-style arena fighter called Transformers Beast Wars Transmetals. Something along the order might be swapped around.
See, I was so into Beast Wars. I was so into Beast Wars, and I never heard of that game.
What's weird is it released on multiple platforms. It was on the N64 and PS2 and something else, but the N64 version was a Blockbuster exclusive. And I found this out recently because I have had a really hard time tracking down that game to buy it and play it again as an adult. I found it last. It was at the Let's Play Gaming Expo when I went to go do the commentary for the Mario Maker race that I found this game finally after years of searching. Bought it, went home, played it again with my brother. It is the worst game ever. It was a fighting game. I played Smash 64 with my brother. Eventually we got GameCube. It dropped with Smash Melee. We played that. We played Soul Calibur 2.
See, I traded
Chuck E. Cheese and played Tekken.
I traded Melee in for Soul Calibur 2. I got Melee as a birthday present, and I didn't even play it. Yeah. I immediately traded it in for Soul Calibur 2 because I wanted to play Soul Calibur. Because the laundromat that my sister used to go to had Soul Calibur, so I make excuses to go to the laundromat with her and play Soul Calibur. So when I found out that it was on GameCube, I traded in an unopened copy of Melee and bought Soul Calibur 2.
I mean, that's kind of where I was at, where like I would go to the Chuck E. Cheese and play Tekken and the Soul Calibur cabinet, or I think it was the Soul Edge cabinet, realistically, that I had to have played. Like ancient, back when Cervantes was the final boss kind of Soul Calibur.
Those were the days.
Soul Edge. Yeah.
Our pizza parlor had Soul's Edge and Tekken 2.
Dude, the campaign in Soul Calibur 2 is actually so big.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could spend forever on that game. If you're just playing competitively, whatever, you'll play against each other, you'll unlock the stuff as quick as you can and beat each other up. But if you're like a child like I was when that game came out, you spend well over like 300 hours just doing the main campaign.
Yes.
I don't even remember what it's called.
I was a little late to that because I had an Xbox first, and my Xbox DVD drive quit working, and it was right around Christmas time, and I had the warranty on my Xbox through Sam Goody, but they couldn't replace it because there weren't any available, so they gave me in-store credit, and I got a GameCube with Metroid Prime, and then I got Melee for my birthday, traded in Melee, got Soul Calibur 2, and used to have all my school friends over to play Soul Calibur 2, and I always frustrated them to no end because I'd play Yoshimitsu or I'd play Link, and I'd just corner camp them.
Yeah.
Like, just camp him in the corner.
Link has the most broken grab, especially as a casual, where he does the backflip around you and just kicks you off the side. I love that. My brother and I got really good at doing like multiple characters, so we would do 8v8s in that game, which no other game let you do something like that. It was so cool. You could have a roster of 8v8. I ended up maining Charade because I liked the color purple, and his ult was a purple eyeball. and he could be every other character in the game.
There
So
you go.
on a good day, I could have 2 of my best other character instead of just 1 on the roster, right? It's my big brain strat. So Schrader was my main dude. And then I was like, you know, Nightmare is always easy. Link is pretty easy. At least at a low level when you're both casuals and just trying to throw people off the side. Like,
when all you care is about that fresh rank out.
yes,
Don't care about anything else. Link is the go-to. Link is so good.
He's up there. Raphael and Mitsurugi were also just so solid. Raphael's
I used to play
forward Y or forward. I don't know what it is, but it's like horizontal. No, vertical. I don't know. I get them mixed up. His vertical slash, where he just swings forward and chops at you, ridiculously powerful.
I used to play a lot of Sophia and Cassandra.
Mm-hmm. I got into them eventually. They're more complex, but they're worth it. Young Song was actually like my main. As it turns out, my favorite characters are always like the worst characters in the game. Young Song is like bottom 2, bottom 1. But I like him. He's cool.
I would love to go back to Soul Calibur too, because I have no concept of a tier list in that game. All of like, it's like, I like playing Link. I've always played Yoshimitsu in every game that he's shown up in. Like, he's been my main. So
he's traditionally a very good character. Yoshimitsu is.
I want to pick up Tekken. Is it Tekken 6? Is that the newest one? 7?
7, I think.
I want to pick up Tekken 7 and play Yoshimitsu in that. I got the new Soul Calibur 6, and I've played some Yoshimitsu in that. But I wish he was in Smash and my character crisis could end.
Right. Oh my god. Like, they put him in both Tekken and in Soul Calibur. Just put him in Smash and he'll be in everything. It'll be great.
It's a Bandai Namco game. Like, Smash is made by Bandai Namco. Why can't they just throw Yoshimitsu in there?
I feel like if they pick any character from either series, like, they should pick Yoshimitsu because he can represent both.
Right. It's probably going to be like Heihachi or something if we get a Tekken rep, though.
You're right.
But I would love to have...
They would pick, like, the more, you know, the one who's been around more. Heihachi has also represented both the Souls and the Tekken series, so, you know.
But if I had Yoshimitsu, I could have a main. I wouldn't be bouncing forth between characters every week anymore.
Hey, that's a struggle. I felt that super hard at the end of Smash 4. I was playing a new character every week. I entered tournaments as random.
Nice.
I entered tournaments as random, and that's how I decided I would play Charizard for the next week. Because I kept getting Charizard on random and smacking people.
Oh, maybe this character's good.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe my Charizard's got the heat. Call him Lafayette.
So what's your favorite game?
My favorite game... I feel like my favorite game, the game I put like the most time into ever, replaying all the time, is probably Pokemon Emerald. Pokemon and Zelda are my 2 like favorite series of all time. I like grew up on them. They never disappoint.
So I guess I have to confess.
Pokemon Emerald is the one that I always go back to.
I guess I have to confess that I've only played Pokemon Gen 1 and Gen 2 and the remakes, and then Sword and Shield.
Okay.
That's it. That's honestly, my Pokemon experience.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
For Zelda...
Pokemon... Yeah.
For Zelda, I've only played Breath of the Wild and Link's Awakening.
Those are still 2 phenomenal games. Like, I have friends who haven't played a single Zelda or a single Pokemon, and I'm like, man, you'd probably like them if you tried them, but it's also a lot to get into sometimes. Like, Pokemon's usually only like a 24-hour adventure if you want it to be quick and you're not like... I feel like the less you know about Pokemon, the faster it can get because you're just plowing through with your team and you're not looking for certain stuff.
Right, when you don't know what's available to you and you're not looking for that one Pokemon that you must have.
Right. I definitely waste a lot of extra time on these games just overthinking everything.
See, I beat Soul Silver. I did with just Nidoking and Nidoqueen. That was
nice.
That was challenging. Honestly, I had to grind so much.
So beautiful. So doable though. Those Pokemon are like the Nidos in the first 2 gens, especially the first gen. I think maybe in the remakes of the second gen too, they're a little bit better than in the initial, like Gold and Silver. But they're so good to solo run with.
Well, they
can
have like
learn
everything.
like every move ever. Yeah. They can surf. They can. I was talking about earlier. Like if you need a coverage move, they can learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, they can learn it.
Yeah, they're kind of busted. They're not really like exceptional at anything. They just have availability to do everything.
Yeah. Exactly. It's if you're doing a solo run, that's what you need.
Right.
You need somebody to be there, do the right thing. Yeah. I don't know. Honorable mentions to Skyward Sword because it's my favorite Zelda because I like Zelda for the storytelling more than the puzzles. I really like the puzzles. And
Skyward Sword was on Wii?
Is my favorite. Skyward Sword is on Wii. Most people hate that one. I think they're all babies and need to learn how to use the controls. They aren't that hard.
Is that the one where you slash in your hand like a imbecile?
Yeah, you're flailing like a wild person. But it's not that bad. I feel like some people are like, my motion controls never worked. And I thought, your brain never worked because I've never had any problems with it.
I have a Wii sitting back behind me. Maybe I'll plug it in and get Skyward Sword.
Reminds me of those tweets where like, I simply would not die. I'm built different. Like, no offense to you, but I'm built different. That's me with Skyward Sword. It brought some of like my favorite boss fights in any game, but especially Zelda games. Like I think even the people who hate Skyward Sword will agree that the Ancient Cistern is one of the best dungeons and boss fights at the end of it that you could ever experience in a Zelda game. And I'm not going to spoil any of it, but it's super awesome. Super awesome.
Like, so I'm definitely a sucker for games with good boss fights and good storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Skyward Sword hits. If they did a remake of it on the Switch with the better like HD Rumble or even just the option for regular controls, which I don't think would even work well in that game, but give people what they want, I guess, people would love it. But I don't know.
So you talked about playing Smash 64 with your brother and playing Melee on the GameCube. How long was it before you got introduced to the competitive scene in Smash? How'd that come about?
The competitive scene for Smash with me took a while. So there's a couple of points where like I kind of got introduced to / interested in competitive, but never like stuck around or like actually learned about it other than this maybe exists. So I played 64 Melee with my brother. Going into, this was middle school for me, like 6th grade. Brawl was about to drop. And I was checking the Brawl Dojo like every day. I don't know how many people remember that the Brawl Dojo existed, but Sakurai had a website where he would like literally leak the game out and be like, hey, here's my daily screenshots of this is parts of the game, this character is announced, here's certain trailers. He would even go into the secret characters by the end of it, so you knew that Wolf was coming into the game and Toon Link was coming into the game. And, like, he hid them behind spoiler warnings. It was kind of cool. But
nice.
He, dropped it a little bit at a time. And my first period math class, I sat down with one of my homies, and we would always get super excited about Brawl going to be dropping. So eventually the game drops. We play on Brawl Wi-Fi, which is horrid.
We had a podcast episode talking about Brawl a couple weeks ago.
I never played that game competitively, but boy, that Wi-Fi was something else. This kid smacked me up with his Jigglypuff. I just got crushed by this Jigglypuff. But eventually, because of that, like, I talked to so much about this game with my friend, learned that I am not the best kid on the block, obviously. I checked out, same year, got really into the popular fan game Super Smash Flash 2 and spent a lot of my time on the McLeod Gaming forums. those forums, I think very recently got shut down and archived, which is kind of tragic. I have years of content of me posting on those forums. You'll never find it because I have a different username.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, protecting my middle school era self. But I did a lot of, I actually did, one of my biggest hobbies at the time was doing sprite work. So I'd do little pixel art. It was fun. But it was a forum centered around Super Smash Bros. 2, so obviously I was interested in Smash and constantly around that. But I didn't really get into competitive Smash until Smash 4 was about to be dropped on the 3DS. All the hype train is going on. Everyone's talking about, all the new characters that are going to be released. And one of my big friend groups at the time, I was really excited about that, and also stumbled across the Smash documentary at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So we all watched the Smash doc, got really hyped, and we're like, this new game's dropping. We're going to get good. Almost all of them lost interest except for me. But I was really interested in it. So about a week or two after the game dropped, I was searching for tournament videos on YouTube, and I found like Shockwave 3 on the 3DS being streamed by Tourney Locator. And I looked in the description, and it said it was in Frisco, Texas, which is a lie. And they corrected that in every other video that it's in Plano. But I was living in Frisco at the time. So I was like, wow, I'm right here. This video of these really good players that I'm seeing is right here. I could be there. So next week I showed up, and then almost every week after that, like I started going to Shockwaves in the single digits. And I don't even know what number we're at now. 5 million, feels like.
I honestly wouldn't know because you're at like 60 something in Ultimate.
Yeah. Well, we're at, so.
Well, if you count online.
We've been going for, I think, we're at like 160 something in Ultimate. And there was like 4 years of Shockwave in Wii U. I don't even know what number that is. But I've been going since single digits. And I went almost every single week since. I've rarely missed. But that's where it really started, was when I searched that up and showed up to my first local. Because I was I've been like a hobby hopper. I would get into a competitive thing. I was interested in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! For a while. I was interested in competitive Pokemon. I was interested in competitive Pokemon TCG. I've been interested in all kinds of different random competitive things that I could play online, but I never had a community or like a group of friends that I could make through that.
Right.
So I would get bored after like a month or two and then go to the next thing or search for another thing to entertain me for a couple months. And Smash was the one that stuck because I had to go physically to a location and hang out with people and make friends and had a good time. So eventually it became more than just about the Smash. It was all the people that I got to hang out with. And also there was Smash sometimes. So that was kind of cool.
So when did you
that's how it ended up.
When did you get involved in commentary?
That was maybe a year into, no, I don't think it was quite a year. It was a little bit after the Wii U version dropped that I was getting friends with some of the people in TLOC production. And I had some prior experience with like stream stuff. And because this is like ancient stuff. I was part of a Tumblr account called That Splicing Adventure that had a goal of, this goes back to my pixel art roots. They would try to fuse every Pokemon with every Pokemon using the sprites. So it started with Bulbasaur sets and then doing random requests here and there. But we wanted to have a sprite that we made of every Pokemon fused with every other Pokemon. And there was like 6 people. It started out with one person who recruited more people. And sometimes we'd live stream it on livestream.com. So it's like ancient stuff. So I'd live stream myself doing that art and hanging out with chat. So I was kind of used to that. And that account had literally 10, 20,000 followers. So it was kind of big. Don't know where it is now. It's super gone. I don't know if it even still exists. But it'd be interesting to check out. I'll probably look into that at some point. But I had some experience doing streaming stuff a little bit, and I had a lot of knowledge of frame data and stuff like that because I was a huge nerd and I looked at numbers and it made me make more sense of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone in Smash is bad at explaining things to each other about
They
why things
are.
work.
Even like some top
So I
level
looked at
players
numbers.
are. They're like, it just works.
Top
You just
players
know
are
it
the
does.
worst about it.
And it's like, what do you mean you just know
Top
it does?
players are-
How do you know it does?
Right. Sometimes the better the player is, sometimes they're worse at explaining how things work because they don't really need to know why it works. They just need to know that it works, and that's good enough for them. But like, everyone has like a different way of processing information and how their brain works, and
Mhm.
the way my brain works, that does not do it for me. I need to know the why,
Right.
and that helps me process what my other options are. So numbers helped, and I would. I had that knowledge, and they knew that I was like a little bit knowledgeable about the game, even though I was terrible at pressing the buttons. I was getting better a little bit, kind of, not really. I top 8'd a Shockwave once. This was like Shockwave 30.
There you go.
That was when customs happened still, and I was playing Sheik, so it was not a big accomplishment, and it never happened again. But yeah, I knew people in the TLOC production, so they were like, yeah, go ahead and try the commentary thing. I think it was terrible. Of course, at the time I thought it was fine. But going back, if I look at my early VODs and my commentary, it was terrible. I sounded like a robot. I was super monotonous. I would just talk about frame data because I didn't know what else to talk about. It was bad. But God bless, they stuck with me and I got way better. And eventually got picked up by them, so that was cool. But it started by going to locals and making my friends and then giving me a shot.
There you go.
So that's how I got there.
So we got the other side of this story about 2 weeks ago when Kimona was on here.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your side to the whole Kimona introduction? How'd y'all meet? When'd you discover that y'all had good synergy? How that developed?
So initially, my first commentary partner, I don't know if Ultimate people know this lore because he was at the very, very start of Ultimate. But all throughout Wii U, my main commentary partner was Zan. One of my favorite people ever. And him and I got picked up with TLOC, and like a week later, we were like, we really like Kimona as well. I feel like there's a lot of potential there for Kimona to get better. And Kimona got picked up. I can't remember if it was the same week as us or like a week after the Kimona got picked up. This is within the last 2-year lifespan of Wii U. The Kimona like kind of recently showed up on the scene, but was pretty good. Of course, if you go back now, I'm sure Kimona would say like it was awful or whatever because we're all the same. We go back at our old stuff and we're like, this is terrible, and then wonder how we ever got where we are. And in 2 years, I'll think the same thing about whatever I'm doing right now.
I feel that way about watching VODs from like a week ago.
Yeah, it's the worst sometimes. I still struggle to make a commentary reel because I judge myself too hard and I don't know what to put into a reel. That's like, I judge it from my point of view and not what other people are going to see, and it gets really difficult for me to put something together. But with Kimona, like, I wasn't a static commentary partner with Kimona until kind of Ultimate started, but we were very good friends. So Kimona and I became pretty fast like besties. Shortly after like they got picked up, we would hang out and talk about the video game and learn a lot with each other about like talking commentary theory. And at the same time, we were all talking with JV and Neptune, who were big in the PM scene and a little bit of Melee, but mostly the PM scene. And of course, they had a good run. JV at least had a pretty good run doing some Smash 4 stuff as well. He commentated like the some iconic sets between Zero and Ally at Smash and Splash with Max Ketchup. I think both times that those wild sets happened. Like both times where those games went into sudden death, it was JV and Max Ketchum on the mic. But I learned a lot from JV and Neptune about like theory of commentary, and they learned a lot from like studying other games and how their other games deal with commentary. A lot of like Dota and Overwatch and like first-person shooter commentary,
Right.
MOBA commentary, which is stuff that I probably never would have watched, but learned a lot from.
So I come from a StarCraft background. And
Yeah.
StarCraft commentary does not
It's so
translate
different.
well into this because StarCraft's slow. Like lots of stuffs are happening. Like if
Yeah.
you're playing, you're doing a lot. But from a spectator's point of view, there's a
But you
lot
have
of ramp up
time.
time. So you're a lot of explaining storylines, explaining what's going on. It doesn't
Mhm.
translate over to Smash.
That is. It's hard because you want to take the same ideas because it's good to build a storyline and something like that. But you have to know how to say it super concisely, and you have to fit it in a bumper, basically, of like, I need to know that the local recording has started now, so here's when the VOD happens, and now I can start talking about why these two players are playing is interesting, and I have like 10 seconds before they pick their characters and the game countdown starts, and then we talk about what's important about the match, and then in between, you kind of want to talk a little bit about what happened at the match, and kind of want to talk a little bit what happened about like the storyline still if you have more stuff to say. And there's like 17. It's so much to talk about.
Everything
All
you
the
just
games
said.
happening.
The thing about the VOD really
It's a lot.
resonates because
Yeah.
cutting my own VODs for our weekly tournament, like it's made me pay a lot more attention to where the VOD starts and when to do the player introductions because I'm not gonna lie, this week if you go watch the Galaxy Cup VODs, like the commentary is spotty as hell. Not only because I'm doing all the production stuff, but because I did my character introductions before the match started, then ended up cutting it from the VOD because it's not interesting and it ends up shoddy.
And sometimes there is downtime before they're going up to stream, and you want to talk about it, but there's so many times that like if you don't understand from the production side, you would just think that I'm being silly. But like if you're watching Ultimate Shockwaves, there's been a billion times where I'm sitting there with Kimona and I'm like, hey, these two players are coming up. I have some really exciting stuff. I want to talk about them. I'm going to wait a second till the VOD starts because I'll save this for a minute. So let's keep talking about the nonsense we were talking about before. But in a second, I really need to tell you about why it's cool that these two players that I'm not even going to talk about yet are playing. And then I get the AOK from M that they're starting the locals. So I'm like, okay, sweet. So now it's Tispai and Burr playing, and they're super sick players. And here's the lowdown.
Right,
but
there's so much
I
about.
learned a lot about. Yeah.
There's so much about timing and like trying to hint something to your production staff without blatantly saying, "Hey, production guy."
Yeah.
Like I found myself so much at Coral Sword, like trying to get information from our production team without directly talking to the production team. Because most of the time at Coral Sword, like I'd end up on the mic from the start of the event till the end of the event, while also technically being the TO of the event. So there was this weird balance between like trying to make sure everything's going smoothly over there and trying to get information from a production team while also not sitting there staring into camera and talking to the production team.
Right. It's not, I mean, it gets easier the more you know your production and the more the production's like super aware of everything. M is like the best person I've ever worked with production wise. He's so good. I'm blessed to have him with Turning Locator. So it's like, and some of that's just him being awesome, and some of that's me knowing him well enough and doing work with him well enough that we're super comfortable. But his cues are great. Makes life easy. But I learned a lot about like concepts of commentary through JV and Neptune and applied that with Kimona. And yeah, basically a lot of it is just because we became really good friends. And then come Ultimate, Zan didn't love the game as much. And Kimona filled a very similar role as Zan did commentary-wise. So I'm like a very analysis-based commentary person. I like to talk about why things happened and why it's good or bad that they happened and like what's going on matchup-wise and like number stuff and like analytical mind of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And Zan was a very good hype man and really good at like bringing it into like bringing my numbers to life, kind of, where I could explain why something's so good, and then he could explain why it's important that this stuff keeps happening, or like why it's hype that this is happening, or like this is super awesome, and then I would break it down, and he could get excited about a cool play that happened, and then I could break it down.
and then he could ask me about what we expect to see, and then I would be like, okay, well, this is a really strong tool in the matchup, and then Zan would be like, that's crazy. Do you see how well he's using that tool you were talking about? And then Kimona filled a very similar role because he also had really good energy and also had a pretty analytical mind as well. Like he really loved stats. Or Kimona, they really like stats. So like that comes from their baseball background.
Yeah, we went on
stats
a
for
tangent
everything.
about analytics and application from analytics to baseball and how that could be translated to Smash. We went on a tangent about that because I have spreadsheets of Smash analytics that like I'll probably never get to use.
That's awesome. Really early on, Kimona had a similar sheet of stats of like head-to-head between local players and like similar things like that that we would reference. But yeah, I mean, they filled a very similar role in their ability to get hype and make sense of my silly numbers, and it was super cool how it just kind of fit really well as well because we were really good friends. So it became like the synergy got really easy because even if we didn't have to talk about it that much, it really just felt like we were having a conversation about the video game. And it's still, that's just what it is. It's two people talking about the video game with a goal in mind. But mostly we're just talking about the video game and doing a really good job of like bouncing back and forth with it. Sometimes there's bits and they come pretty easy because we like to joke around with each other. We have pretty similar. Sometimes we have the same brain and sometimes we have brains on the opposite ends of the hemisphere, but I think that's makes it even better sometimes.
My favorite is when they steal your bit. Not even gonna lie, when you start a bit and then they just steal it and you're like, what? Wait.
That's my bit. Yes, I love it. It's great.
So
pick my bit and run with it.
What is your favorite event that you've worked on?
My favorite bit that we worked on? Or event?
Favorite event.
Favorite event.
You go favorite bit too. I'd love to hear that.
Oh, dude, my favorite recent bit is definitely when Kimona says that's macaroni and the next thing you expect is cheese. Because they did the cheesiest thing ever. DK Cargo down throws someone in. They say macaroni and I say cheating. It's macaroni and cheating. The same. I love macaroni and cheating as a concept. But as my favorite event is definitely Low Tier City 7. I've done a bunch of awesome events. They're all really, really high on the list. But Low Tier City 7 was something else. Being at the esports arena was such a cool place to have. The event, that stage for top 8 is insane. I got to work with Vicky, Kitty, and Vish. Super awesome and blessed there. Like it was just such a good event. Low Tier City 7 was awesome. Honorable mentions to every other Low Tier City I've been to because doing Low Tier City 5 actually with Zan was like my first time doing top 8 at it was a major-ish event. I mean, it was like a C tier, I think, but there was a lot of eyes on that event. And that came with a lot of recognition. That was like one of the best ones. Low Tier City 6 was still awesome, but from like a like being there was awesome and commentating was awesome. But it was also like the game was on its way out and nobody liked having, from a viewer standpoint, like 4 Bayonettas. I thought it was cool because I thought the Bayo Ditto was one of the most interesting things that could happen in Smash Wii U. Because even if Bayo is silly broken, Bayo being silly broken against Bayo is awesome. And the way that all of the players knew each other and knew the counterplay to Bayo, mind-boggling.
The player matchup is one of my favorite things to discuss as a commentator. When you can talk about the way that a player plays versus this player because you've seen them play. Like, I used to cast Bonman versus Deluxe every single Thursday. And I'm sure you're familiar with casting the same 2 players every week. And eventually the character doesn't really matter anymore, and you've said everything you could say about the character, and so what is there left? There's the guy behind the controller.
Exactly. You can talk all day about how on paper this should happen because the matchup works this way. But in practice, if I'm 7 levels of Yomi deep in your brain, it don't work anymore.
If we've played
And
17
suddenly-
weeks in a row, that character knowledge is probably out the window a little bit. Like, it's not going to be the same as if you just watch a random Ness and Bayo.
Exactly. It's kind of nuts. And I loved seeing that in 4 too at the end of it because all of the Bayos played against each other and it was dittos, so you really did get to see like how the players were choosing to interact, like what their spin was on everything. Like even the stage picks was really interesting. A lot of the time they just went back to Smashville. But sometimes
The one time they did.
Sometimes. Yeah, you're like, okay, they're really going for something here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure at LTC 6, Mistake actually counterpicked to the ZSS and won a game on Dreamland because it was silly. Bayo ZSS was also a really fun matchup to watch. At the end of it, I really just liked watching all the cheese characters because I felt like embracing the game. So watching like Corrin, Instapin, and Dragon Fang shot people at like 40, and Ness Austin was Austin. He was still doing his thing. It was wild. It was a fun run. But definitely, I think Loche City 7 was the best. It's not only the most recent like big event that I've done, but it had such an impact. Like that was cool. But also honorable mentions to Let's Make Big Moves being one of the coolest events I've ever been to. Commentary wise, I didn't get that many blocks, and it was like cool stuff. But I was definitely blessed to be there. It was super awesome to travel to New York for this video game that I love.
Right.
And Let's Make Big Moves was one of the coolest events that I've been to from like just a being there kind of standpoint. Like if I remove myself from the commentary list, it was cool to be there. Commentary wise, it was still pretty good. Got to commentate Robs, and I was excited, and the other people were like, what's going on?
I remember that because everybody else was like, man, there's so many Robs. And you're like, you don't understand. I live in Dallas.
Yeah. It was Robs and Roy's, which was really weird. And I was like, yeah, I know everything about what's going on. It's kind of wild. It was fun. But Loche City 7 was on another level. It was too cool.
So
Tweak winning was awesome.
Tweak winning. That entire event was so hype. Like I've gone on a tangent about Low Tier City like several episodes on the podcast. So I'm gonna avoid talking about it incessantly here again, but watch the Kimona episode, watch these 2 episodes back to back, and you get the full rant about why I love that event. Earlier on in the podcast, you were talking about dabbling in some Dragon Ball Fighters and some other titles.
Yeah.
Are there any titles that you're interested in right now, and why do you hate Valorant so much?
Oh my god. So I'm definitely interested in some other titles, and first-person shooters are far from them. Like I said before, my introduction to gaming was playing video games with my brother, and when we played fighting games, it would go great. We'd kind of go even, or he was like my older brother. He beat me up because I was bad at video games, and I was a young kid, and I would get better, and then eventually I could beat him up, and it was cool. In the video game, of course. We'd play Guitar Hero and like go head to head there. And he'd be better than me, but I'd learn, get better, and do our Guitar Hero thing. When we play, we played almost exclusively Nintendo consoles growing up. So I had like the N64, we had the GameCube, we had the Wii, nothing else, no other consoles, except we bought a PS2 specifically for Guitar Hero.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother brought home Medal of Honor. And that was the start of my hatred of shooting games because I was never tested at this skill before as a kid. We didn't have shooting games on the N64 or the GameCube that I ever cared about.
So you didn't play
The only Metroid
GoldenEye?
games I played were the 2D ones, and I never had GoldenEye because I'd never seen 007 as a kid. I feel like my parents were just like, I don't know. It just wasn't something that ever came up.
I had a neighbor that had GoldenEye.
Yeah. It's one of those like classic N64 games. Never came back to me. So I was garbage. Got trashed at Medal of Honor. My brother's friend would bring over his Xbox and play Halo. And I could have fun to a degree because it was Halo 2, right? So I didn't actually have to be that good at shooting. I was awful with an assault rifle. I was awful with like a needler, awful with a sniper. I couldn't shoot for anything. But if I had the plasma rifle and I just fully charged the plasma rifle, I could shoot somebody once and punch them and they're dead. So I played a boxing game in a shooting game. Or if I had the sword, I could have the sword, and everyone knows how that goes. So that was, if I had to pick a shooting game to play, it would probably be Halo because I can box people to death. But then they got rid of it in Halo 3, and I don't know where it went after that. I just know that I was really bad at all the other Halos. And recently as like last week, my brother's tried to get me to start playing Fortnite with him because he's really into Fortnite. I've given in and played a little bit of Fortnite. I'm very, very bad at Fortnite.
Fortnite is deceptively fun. I actually somehow managed. I only got into it like 6 months ago, and I won my very first game. I got like 12 kills in a win, like having no idea how to build. I was like, maybe I do like this game.
It can get addicting. My brother finally taught me how to build so I could walk up cliffs that were impossible to climb. It's not as complex as it, like it doesn't have to be complex. I played Trio for the first time, or I guess it's called Squads, but it was me, my brother, and his girlfriend. And we won our first Squads match. I had 2 kills, 0 assists, and like a 30% accuracy on my first shots. It ended by me getting in a helicopter and flying around while they were shooting everyone on the ground, and I was like, "Is this helpful?" And then we got first place, so that was cool. I think I'm gonna retire with that first.
Retire
place
off that win.
Yeah, that's all I could ever hope for. But shooting games, I just am not coordinated for them. I was not practiced in them, so wasn't at the top of my list. However, I talked a little bit about how I dabbled in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Pokemon TCG. I think commentating for a card game would be really fun. I think that like my style of commentary could actually translate to that pretty well. And beyond that, we talked a little about VGC. It is like a dream goal of mine, like life goal to commentate for TPCI. I really want to do some kind of commentary for them, be it for the Pokemon trading card game or VGC. I'm definitely a long ways away from doing that because I really don't have myself. I'm not involved in those scenes nearly as much as I should be if I want to get into them. But I'm trying to get into the VGC a little bit more. I dabbled in the TCG and then I fell out of it because that costs money, a lot of money. But I keep in contact with it here and there. I kind of know what's going on. Not as much anymore. I played semi-actively online in 2016 or 18, whatever format Seismitoad ruled, which was a lot of them. But
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think it was like 2016, 2018. It was that I played the card game. It was kind of fun. But I, like one of the biggest, like, yeah, that's at the top of my list. Do something for TPCI. Because I think one of my biggest commentary inspirations was actually a commentator for TPCI, Kyle Puka Sukovic, who ran, I mean, his videos that he posted online before he joined TPCI for the Top Cut got me into the Pokemon TCG when I had never been interested before, because he was able to be super informative, but also like funny and like good at explaining what was going on and thought processes and why things worked, but not be dull or dry at all. He's super good commentary, big fan. And then he was hired by TPCI to do commentary, so he stopped doing videos for the Top Cut, but he was really good at commentary for them. And yeah, he's just, I think now he works on balancing cards, actually. I could be wrong.
I feel like a lot of
I think
commentators
you were-
make transitions into coaching or
Mm,
game development, like balancing.
yeah.
You've seen it in League of Legends, like Jat was a commentator, and now he's the coach of Team Liquid, and before that he took a little bit of a hiatus from commentary to actually work on game balance. So like
Yeah.
the analytical commentators typically transition really well into those types of positions, then inevitably end up coming back to commentary.
Right. Yeah. Puka's just one of the best commentators at anything ever. And I think card games definitely make sense for me, so I kind of want to do that. But I'm really far removed from card games right now, so maybe someday. I tried getting into Hearthstone a little bit, and I just couldn't. So maybe someday I'll find a card game that's like popular and also I like, and also has like streaming success or something.
Right.
We'll see.
Um,
But that or Pokemon.
how do you maintain motivation right now with everything going on? What have you been working on? What do you have in the works?
I like right now it's been really hard for me to do commentary stuff because my internet's kind of trash. So me doing Ultimate Online Shockwave commentary is not easy or super viable most of the time. Next week, I might actually be able to go do some because Texas opened up a little bit, so Kimono and I can be at the same place, practicing some proper social distancing and all that. But we'll be at the same place with two mics together, being able to actually do commentary. I'm really excited for that next week. So I get to finally be back. I just want to go back to doing the thing that I really enjoy. Commentary for me, I do it because I love it, because I get to share my love of this video game. Right now, I feel like we're at a point where everyone is in hate with this video game. They absolutely are not.
People were celebrating that it's not included in Evo, and
right, and like I get it because I kind of feel that. I don't think that anyone in the community would think Evo win online for this game would be legitimate, which is unfortunate. I would love for that to be a possibility, but it's not feasible right now. The online is not good enough for that, and it's a very different environment.
I think it's better for the health of the game in the long run too that it's
Yeah.
not, because it's all these players or all these eyes that wouldn't be on the game normally aren't going to be on the game during inevitable DCs and so on and so forth.
I think personally, the way my commentary works, the way my commentary brain works, I'm really excited to commentate an online event because at the end of Smash 4, my favorite thing ever was watching Bayo Dittos and talking about how intricate and cool Bayo was as a concept, especially playing against each other. And everyone hated that. But I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was really cool being able to explain the things that I liked about it so I could maybe get somebody else to like it. And some people did. Some people really were able to like. I've seen YouTube comments of people watching my commentary on Bayo sets and being like, I actually hated Bayo, but like it's not as bad as I thought. Bayodas are actually kind of hype. Thanks. So I like looking at currently what a metagame is and talking about why I think it's still cool. So we grew up on our scene was bred on Rob being like 3 times on a banner in top 8s and people talking about how, man, that looks like a Wi-Fi banner. And then now we have Isabelle and Zelda, and it actually does look like a Wi-Fi banner.
Right.
But I can look at the metagame as it exists right now online and still talk about how people are being good players and the cool stuff that they're doing. If somebody's going to pull a Wi-Fi strat, they're going to pull a Wi-Fi strat, and they're going to win with it. And I can talk about how cool it is. They realize their opponent doesn't have the capability of reacting.
No,
so certain mix-ups exist.
I've watched a ridiculous amount of Wi-Fi this week, having those 3 events and then doing First Stock Friday. This is our 3rd First to 10 on Wi-Fi that we've done. So doing a First to 10 on Wi-Fi, I didn't think anybody would be interested in it. I was like, man, it'd be a cool, fun thing to do, because I've always been like, StarCraft used to have a lot of show matches back in the day. Like, it would be a lot of skip the tournament. Let's just have these 2 players that we care about play a First to 10. And like, I thought it was an interesting concept in Smash, and realistically it never happened. And during this whole quarantine thing, I'm like, well, now we can have players from anywhere in Texas that don't normally get to play each other on Wi-Fi for a First to 10. And I was like, the first feedback I got was, players are never going to agree to that. And I was like, you know what? They might not.
Right.
There'll probably be a handful of players that I can't get on just because of the format. And I'm okay with that. But I've been so hyped about
Definitely.
the matches that we've gotten. Like watching Grayson versus Ray first to 10, that was so hype. Grayson pulled up
That's
the
pretty
Donkey
sick.
Kong for a couple games.
I love Grayson's Donkey Kong so much.
I didn't know it
Do you want to know where
existed.
Grayson's Donkey Kong has its roots?
Are you
Do you want to know why
responsible for
Grayson's
this?
Donkey Kong exists? I don't know if anybody's ready for this. Grayson's Donkey Kong exists because of Super Smash Flash 2. Super Smash Flash 2 Donkey Kong. Because him and his homies at HMO have taste, quality taste, and they know that Super Smash Flash 2 is a good video game. And N and Barracuda would play Super Smash Flash 2 with Grayson. I never got to play with them because I play on a keyboard. I literally play with my keyboard. I can't play that game with a controller because my main is Falco. And I can multi-shine on a keyboard and I can't control Falco the way I want to on a controller, which doesn't make sense to me, but it is the truth. So, but I guess it just feels so different. Like the responsiveness is very different than what I expect of a Smash game on a controller, but it makes sense to me in the context of me having only played on a keyboard. But at some point, I would like to play with all of the people on Super Smash Flash 2. But that's beside the point. The point is that Grayson's Stick Donkey Kong has its roots in Super Smash Bros. 2, which is really funny to me.
See, I was gonna meme about he saw Commander beat Austin once with Donkey Kong, and I was like, I need this character in my roster.
Yes. Dude, DK is he's not a great character in Ultimate, but he's not nearly as bad as any DK wants you to believe. I think he
He's
has
so entertaining.
very legitimate counterpick potential, and he's one of the coolest characters to watch. He's so sick. Experiencing playing against DK sucks. But watching DK is always hype. And I started playing DK as basically a main at the end of Smash 4. Like, I think that's where I settled, was with DK, because I just embraced all of the cheese and said, you know what? I either get this or I don't. And I'm not playing the game or they're not playing the game. And that's how we're gonna that's how we're gonna finish this. And it was fun to watch, terrible to experience as a player, but it was super fun to watch, and it only got better in Ultimate.
Right.
Because he's more of a real character.
See, in Houston, we have Tony Sherbert and Street Rat. So in early Ultimate, Tony would post a clip a couple times a week. Like, it became the point where I was memeing about it. Like, we would see him do something hype at the sweet spot. We would do something hype on his DK, and I'd inevitably say, shout out to Facebook, we're inevitably going to see this post next week. Because without a doubt, like, it was going to be uploaded every single time. So every time he did something hype, I knew I was going on Facebook and just say something stupid, just feed into the clip, because you know everybody and their mother is going to watch it. Tony's going to put it everywhere.
I can't remember who he played against. There was a Joker he was playing against that I rewatched that set 7 times because I was trying to figure out how to beat Joker as any of my characters, but DK would be really funny if that was my kind of character in tournament.
Dash attack, back air.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always the answer. Just dash attack, back air.
Honestly, kinda. DK kind of sick.
But
big fan.
Before we get out of here, anything you'd like to plug or promote? Anything you got coming up?
Ooh. Follow me on Twitter at the Ryan Neighbor, at Gommel, or any other Canadian major that's going to be happening, and tell them to hire Kimona and I so we can go to Canada. Not just because that would be cool, but specifically because at Zeke here on Twitter, Coach Zeke, famous Smash Brothers coach, awesome dude, owes me 10 chicken nuggets. And has owed me 10 chicken nuggets since September 22nd, 2016.
There you go.
Because we made a side bet in a Twitch chat of a Tourney Locator stream at one point. I think I was betting on Highland beating Aerolink, and I won, and he owed me 10 chicken nuggets. But we've never been able to be at the same place at the same time because he lives in Canada, and I haven't had money to travel. So now I have the means. Just tell Gommel to hire me, or somewhere else in Canada to hire me, and Kimona as well, and we'll go as a duo, and I'll get to meet Zeke and claim my chicken nuggets.
There you go.
That's my biggest plug.
Appreciate the passion towards your chicken nuggets and squaring up on a bet from 4 years ago.
Yeah. It's the most important things in life, the chicken nuggets.
Clearly. But you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at moo_SSB. Follow Last.Gaming at Last.Gaming on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Like I've been talking about, we're hyping up a lot of content lately. We've been doing Moo's Monday Musings on Monday, which we'll have Tanuki Allen and talk about Kaizo Mario, Mario Maker, and other Mario speedrun shenanigans. We have the Galaxy Cup Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Tuesdays are randoms, Wednesdays are doubles, and Saturdays is a traditional singles bracket. First Stock Fridays on Friday. Guests will announce on either Tuesday or Wednesday. But this week's match, Grayson versus Ray, VODs are up on YouTube right now. If you haven't watched that set, you gotta watch that set. It was so hype. There will not be a podcast next Sunday. Podcast will return the week after that. I'm moving back to the South, so I'm leaving Colorado next weekend. So we'll still have the tournaments, but we won't have the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you're watching this afterwards, thank you so much for watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify. See y'all next week, or not next week.